DTFF.
Once again, here is Drinking and Talking Fantasy Football with your hosts, Dustin Lunt and Jake Trowbridge.
Welcome back to the Drinking and Talking Fantasy Football podcast, everyone. We are going to have a terrific show this evening. As you can see, the field is full here on the screen. We've got three amazing guests, along with my co-host, Jake, and we are going to be playing a little game of Would You Rather this evening. All fantasy football related, folks. Get your minds out of the gutter, please. Come on.
Let's just see where the show takes us, Dustin, before you make such a.
There's already been
I'm open-minded.
Yeah, Nate was trying to get us all in the shower about an hour ago, so I got no promises for where tonight goes.
No shame. Let's go.
So, before we head around the room here, Jake, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing so good. It is storming in Madison, Wisconsin. Something fierce right now, but aside from that, I'm doing well. I didn't walk outside and let myself get caught in the rain, which I might do after the podcast. We'll see. Again, just depends on how well things go. How are you, Dustin?
Oh, I'm doing well. I want to apologize to all of our viewers out there first, because I know you watch the show just to see my face. If I start sweating profusely, it's because it is hotter than Satan's taint in my basement right now where I record. And so I'm just putting that out there now. If I start sweating profusely, that's why. So other than that, I'm doing terrific. Thanks for asking.
If we see you start to furiously fan down the way,
that's
we'll
right.
all know what that's about.
It may come to a point where I have to peel off my shirt, and I mean,
you might have to run out
in
of the rain as well.
Want to see that, but I very might. But yeah, as I said, we have got three great guests joining us this evening. So I will go around the room and introduce each and every one of them. We've first off got Ryan Weiss, staff writer at Football Guys and co-host of Club Fantasy FFL. Ryan, how are you doing this evening?
So good. Thank you guys for having me. When I heard Would You Rather was involved, I couldn't not jump on. That's a staple of our show as well. So we just had to. My co-host Joe Zolo claims we invented the game.
TM Club Fantasy.
Exactly. Sure, you've never heard of my podcast, but you know our game.
Yeah, but you spell it Wood, W-O-O-D. So
exactly.
There's no infringements happening.
And then we also have Nate Hamilton joining us, analyst with the Game Day NFL. Nate, thanks for joining us. Glad we could finally get you on the show. I know we've tried in the past and the timing never worked out, so I'm really excited to finally have you on.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. And, I'm happy that I'm on time. I've been waiting for about 14 hours.
Yes.
You say Central Time. My brain can't compute that. So I have no idea what's going on right now. I'm glad to be here, though.
I'm glad you got it all figured out. Thank you. And then back on the show, one of our first guests, Jake.
Very first, Dustin.
So finally back on the show is John Helmkamp, staff writer at sportcasting.com. John, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. It's fun to be back. I can't believe I was you guys' first guest many, many moons ago, and it's so fun to see how things have gone for everybody since then. And, I've harassed Ryan on multiple occasions. Nate and I have never done a show together, even though I feel like
another first. All right.
5,000 times.
We've done a live.
Oh my God. He was on the Club Fantasy BS draft last year. So you guys
that's right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, good. Okay. It makes me feel better because I was sitting there, I was going, wait, hold on. Like, I love Nate. Have I never done a show with him before? And okay, apparently we have.
What he meant is you haven't done one, just the two of you in a secluded area where the
shower
lights are down.
Jake, Ryan, if you guys could just leave and give up for the next hour, that'd be good.
Yeah, we'll just take it from here. We got this. Yeah. But no, it's good. It's great. I'm currently not hosting anything on my own, so it's always nice to just get on with some friends and let you guys do the stressful part and me just show up and talk about football. It's great.
That really is the best part. I mean, I love guesting on shows and just just wipe my hands of it and just like, oh no, I don't have to do all the talking for once. This is great.
Not tonight, Dustin. Tonight is your night. It's all about you.
It is. But before we do that, let's go around the room. Jake, start us off with our beer of the week here.
Beer of the week. I do my little monthly trip to Hy-Vee for any of you Midwesterners that know and love Hy-Vee to stock my beer fridge. And this time I happened to get something from Great Lakes. And I decided to make that this week's beer because they are from Cleveland, Ohio. And we are going to the Fantasy Football Expo in Canton, Ohio later this week, Dustin. But it is a lemon Hefeweizen. It is lemony. And you know what? It's bright.
It's bright. Like
And German.
It tastes like a lemon drop almost. It's very lemony, very tart.
Big
So
time
is it a
lemon. Are you
shandy?
not? It's not a shandy. I want to be clear because I can't fucks with shandies.
No,
It's
we
too
don't
sweet
do
for me.
shandies.
It's too sweet. So I had to do something that's a little bit, let's say, more natural tasting. Dustin,
Okay.
is that fair for this? Maybe?
Earthy.
I guess.
Earthy. Yeah, we can go earthy,
Nice.
herby, potentially. I don't know. Lemongrassy.
know.
It just tastes like lemon. That's all. It's a lemon
You got to bring
grass.
one with you so I can try it.
Done. Done and done.
You don't even have to bring it. It's all over the place down here. You will find it
Oh.
anywhere. So
Okay, good.
it'll be on tap at like most of the places you go
Nice.
to. So.
Perfect.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah. Good beer. Good job, Jake. Ryan, what are you imbibing in this evening?
I'm a pirate, so it's rum and Coke for me. I drink rum, lots of rum all the time, so it's rum.
Do you do
Johnny
do you do the spiced variety or just the plain white rum?
I prefer spiced over white or even aged over white. White would be the last for me. So I start with spiced, then aged, then white.
what is your rum that is currently in that concoction?
This is just your basic Captain Morgan.
Captain.
I do have
Yeah.
some more. I do have some more exotic rums. My wife gets me a new form of rum from different countries. Guatemalan rum was delicious.
Ooh.
And then one of my good friends in Georgia is from Colombia and put me onto a very good Colombian rum. So I bust that out on special occasions and things.
That's awesome.
So,
Can I ask you, as the rum master here, because I'm a big fan of off-brand purchases because I'm a cheap bastard.
okay.
Admiral Nelson's. How does it compare? / have you ever heard of this compared
100%.
to Captain Morgan's?
Compares very well. You
Same?
just need to be. I'm just a brand whore. I'm a captain guy. So, but compares very well. Not quite. If you're drinking, you don't want to do shots of Admiral Nelson. You definitely want to cut that with somebody else. So,
Jake, if you're drinking Admiral Nelson's, you're telling me that you're 19 years old at a frat party. That's what Admiral Nelson's.
interestingly enough, it's not even all that much cheaper than Captain anymore. Captain.
Is it like caught up in price point? Because it used to be you can get like a fifth for like $12. Something like
I'll
that.
be honest, I don't even look enough, but I there definitely isn't enough to make me look.
Understood.
All right, Nate, how about you?
Well, the only time I drink Coke is when I have Captain Morgan in it. So there you go. I'm drinking a Sierra Nevada IPA. It's the Torpedo. It's the extra IPA.
Yes.
Typically with my beer, I do not drink anything under 6%. So if that's under 6%, I'm probably not going to have it. And then,
Damn it, it's
you know,
5-1. It's 5-1, Nate. You'll never get on board with
no,
this.
pass.
It's
And then
boring.
I'm washing it down with an old fashioned. So
Boom.
why not?
Nice. Great combination. I love it. Now is that a Wisconsin old fashioned?
Wisconsin Old Fashioned, by the way, for viewers and listeners not familiar, it's brandy, and typically it's sweet. But I have come to find out that that's not the same across the states, and it's like whiskey sour is a traditional old
No.
fashioned. Is that
No,
right?
no.
No.
It's whiskey,
Uh-huh.
simple syrup, bitters, ice, stir with like an orange twist if you're feeling fancy. But if you don't have the orange twist, it's literally just whiskey, simple syrup, and bitters, and that's it.
Yeah, I'll tell you how I make it. I'll
Yeah,
be fair.
please.
So I do orange peel,
Yep.
some raw sugar,
Mhm.
some bitters. I muddle that together.
Yep.
Drop a cube in, put some of my Woodford Reserve or Knob Creek, one of those two usually, and then some Luxardo cherries as well.
Yes.
Make it
Mhm.
fancy.
That
It's really
is
good.
fancy.
Very, very similar. Being up here in this part of the world in the Midwest, you can get Traverse City cherries from Traverse City, Michigan, which is like the cherry capital of the world. And they're like fancy cocktail cherries are absolutely delicious. So yeah, pretty much Nate and I make our old fashioned the same way.
Awesome.
You snobby sons of bitches.
Yeah,
Fancy ingredients.
If you're gonna be snobby in something, it's got to be a drink.
That's fair.
All right.
That's fair.
That's fair. It is. And John, how about you?
Yeah, since I am in Chicago and I've gone full Chicago and I'm drinking from a Chicago Bears mug, I decided to go with a Chicago. Yeah, I figured. I did this this is all for you, Jake. This is all for you. Well, Dustin too, but especially Jake because he gets feisty with me. Revolution Brewing from Chicago, Hazy Hero IPA. It's good. It's 7.3, Nate. So
All right, I'll have it.
more up your alley. It's it's definitely like a New England hazy, very tropically juice bomb.
Love it.
It sounds delicious.
If it looks like orange juice, it's a good IPA.
I agree, 100%.
That pulp.
You gotta
Pulp
get that
in there.
pulp.
That's
You
what
gotta
you
get that pulp. It's that extra bite. Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
just unfiltered. It's good stuff.
100%.
Oh my goodness. Now, Dustin, we don't have, sadly, because our listeners have let us down, we don't have our favorite segment, the drunk trade of the week, because we have no submissions in the chamber here. But I did want to just ask, I thought I'd take the opportunity, aside from begging our listeners to submit more drunk trades, please, you goddamn heathens, to also ask our guests. I don't buy the whole catch more flies with honey, clearly, method of doing things. But I wondered if our guests have any thoughts. A, has anybody made a drunk trade recently? Or B, do you allow yourself to make drunk trades? Do you put the phone down? Do you mute the sleeper and MFL apps when you've been drinking? What's the frequency? Let's go around the table, I thought here, Dustin. And let's start with Ryan. Do you make drunk trades? Have you made one recently?
I have not made one recently. Actually, I'll throw one out. I was trying to debate on getting rid of, and John, you're going to hate me for this. It's a 3-keeper league. And I was trying to debate on getting rid of either Tyreek Hill or Jonathan Taylor. And I could not bear to make the decision. And a buddy of mine caught me drunk and was like, hey, someone's offering me Calvin Ridley for my first-round pick. So I split decision and got rid of Tyreek Hill as quickly as I could before I lost my chance at his first-round pick. So I was able to move Tyreek for a 1.
All one?
Just we only trade 1 year's picks ahead, and I could only keep one of them, so that was the most I was going to get for him.
Oh, okay.
The market was pretty well set at that. He now no longer has a first round pick because it's only a 3-keeper league, so the first round pick is not just a rookie pick; it's a pretty important pick.
Got it.
So snap decision. I don't regret it, but he did catch me drunk and force me to choose between Tyreek Hill and Jonathan Taylor, and when I split the baby, Tyreek Hill's gone. So.
Well, I'm proud of you for making the right choice.
I figured you would be.
John, have you drunk traded away a Jonathan Taylor share at any point? Have you gotten that drunk? That's what I want to know.
Hell no, never. That has not happened. It was funny because obviously I was very early and high on the drumbeat for Jonathan Taylor. I acquired him everywhere that I could in rookie drafts going into last season. And then it's like the rest of the fantasy world kind of caught up to Jonathan Taylor's value in the last year. So if I didn't get him in a draft last year, it's becoming much more challenging to acquire him. He's going as like a top 5 dynasty running back now. And that's where he's going in drafts too. I'm always in drafts, and he's going right around there. He's going with, typically a late first or mid first in single quarterback leagues. It's weird though, because with everything going on with the Quentin Nelson injury and the Carson Wentz and all that stuff, there's been this really, really short depressed value window on Jonathan Taylor. And I've been trying to get him, but everyone knows how much I love him and they won't give him to me. And it's really, really irritating. But there's been this kind of depressed window. I've been taking advantage of it a lot in best ball. Like I got him at the 2-7 in an underdog best ball a couple days ago, and I could not believe it. I decided in the first round to take Travis Kelce. And then I was like, all right. And I got the notification I'm on the clock, and I open it up, and he's sitting right there at the top of the queue. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
It must have been the Carson Wentz thing. I mean, that's the only thing I could think of.
I think Quentin Nelson, too, plays a big role. But Quentin Nelson today was already back on the sideline of practice, not even wearing a boot. And he had surgery like 5 days ago or something like that. So I think he's going to smash his timeline and be back for week 1. And people are going to be like, why did we fade Jonathan Taylor? It doesn't make any sense.
They're even saying Wentz could be back for week 1 now.
Yeah,
So it was a complete overblow for 1 week. So
yeah, 100%.
Love it.
Fair.
I do allow myself to drunk trade, though. It just hasn't been a Jonathan Taylor trade. And I haven't done one recently, but a lot of times I catch myself late at night just like looking through my rosters, and I'll send something stupid every once in a while. And yeah, it happens.
That's fair. Just always curious. Nate, do you have a gauge? Do you have a threshold where you allow yourself to drunk trade?
Well, I'm Irish, so I never get drunk. So no, actually, Ryan and I were in a dynasty league together with a lot of the OG writers from the Fantasy Footballers. So we developed that, and what was it, year 4 or 5 now, Ryan?
I think we're hitting year 5 at this point.
We're hitting year 5 this year. Okay, so the only person I actually drunk trade with is Ben Cummins. Like him and I, we will not trade sober. It's not possible for us. Like we will make it as fair as possible, and we're both just like, I don't know. Let's talk about it later. And then like 1:30 in the morning, we're like, hey bud, so what do you say about that trade? Can we add this guy in? And then we usually get something done. So that's the only person actually on the planet that I drunk trade with.
And like, what's funny is I can attest to this. You can always tell when Nate or Ben are drinking because there's usually a DM at like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night where they're like, who's trying to get something done tonight?
And then the next morning you wake up, don't you, Ryan, to a trade happen between Ben and Nate.
Yep, absolutely.
Jake and I made a beautiful trade a few weeks ago where I said, was it a 3rd or a 4th for Andy Dalton? Because
it was literally a 3rd round pick for Andy Dalton, and which I thought was a smash for me as the person getting the 3rd round pick.
Yeah.
I'm the Justin Fields owner, so it made sense for me to like kind of hedge there, and I was like, sure, all right, fine. We put it in. It went in the chat that the trade was completed, and people are like, ooh, big trade.
Blockbuster. Yeah. Can we stop shaming non-blockbuster trades, by the way? I want to put that out there into the world. Not everything has to be Tyreek Hill, Pat Mahomes for like 3 valuable assets. Sometimes shit just needs to move teams, all right? Yes. And we can do that however we need to do that.
I'm with you.
Like both of us basically sent shit downhill in opposite directions. And that's pretty much how it worked.
Fun. I love that. Anyways, that was a good supplement for our drunk trade, Dustin. I actually like that more than an actual trade, I think. We should do that all the time.
It's good.
Well, before I let you kick off the meat of the episode here, we have to talk about some other meat, Dustin, because this week's episode is brought to you by Poor Richard's Farm, 100% grass-fed beef snack sticks from European beef cattle raised ethically on their Wisconsin family farm, basically right up the road from us. They use all natural ingredients, no fillers, no preservatives, none of the gross stuff makes its way in there. They're vacuum sealed to remain shelf stable. Their cattle are never given supplemental hormones or antibiotics, but they are given fresh air and open spaces. That makes for more physically and emotional healthy animals. All of their beef sticks, by the way, smoked with real hardwood chips, come in a variety: barbecue hickory, teriyaki maple, Tex-Mex mesquite, and originals. Dustin, you're the Tex-Mex fan, yeah? That's your go-to?
It's amazing. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm undecided, honestly. I think I need to try them 12 to 15 more times to make an educated guess on this. Right now, though, our listeners can get 5% off their order if you use promo code DTFF at checkout. Visit PoorRichardsFarms.com today and enjoy free shipping as well when you buy 3 or more packs of their delicious all-natural beef sticks. I'm telling you right now, 3 is not going to be enough. You're going to want to double whatever order you think you should have.
All right. Thank you for that, Jake. And yes, go out and order some. They are delicious. Will not let you down. All right. So let's get into this. I've been excited for this. Let's that was it's our last show.
Dustin sounded like R2D2 over there.
Robot Dustin.
Oh,
I think you got some beef cluttered into your USB port, and it's supposed to go into your mouth. And I think that's something I should have said up front. And honestly, that's on me.
all right. Fair enough.
True
Fair
professional, Jake. And that's good.
Yes. All right. So yeah, we'll start our game of Would You Rather here. I've got just a plethora of comparisons here, and basically we'll just whoever wants to speak up on your opinion on these players we're talking about. Let's go ahead and do so. I'll kind of jump all over the board, not necessarily go position by position. Just ones that I feel like are the most interesting in my eyes. So let's start. We will start off with QBs here. So just for reference, all the data I'm pulling up of fantasydata.com, ADPs, everything. So for those of you playing at home, if you're looking at a different website, differ slightly, but should get us pretty close. So quarterbacks, two guys I'm really interested in only because of their offenses. Yeah, Matthew Stafford and Matt Ryan. Got the Matts. So Stafford is currently going QB 10, 83rd overall, and Matt Ryan is going QB 14, the 120th overall. Who wants to jump on board this one first?
Let's get this kicked off with Ryan here. I'm very curious, and then we'll just go around the clock, if you will. But so Stafford, 10th overall for QBs, Matt Ryan, 14th. I had ADP, I'm guessing, right? So who do you want at ADP there?
Oh, it's Stafford all day for me. I just like the offense. I like everything about it better. A lot of the big boost for Matt Ryan right now is look what Ryan Tannehill did in this system, but I think they're going to find that system to work a lot less well without Derrick Henry and a solid defense. And so I just don't know that it's going to play out as well for Matt Ryan as it did for Ryan Tannehill, whereas Stafford's coming in with two great receivers, arguably a good tight end with Tyler Higbee. If you believe in Sean McVay as an offensive genius and it was Jared Goff holding him back, we've seen what this offense can do at its peak. And I just think Matt Stafford's going to go in there and just eat. I love it for Robert Woods. I love it for Cooper Kupp. And to the back end, I like it for Darrell Henderson and Tyler Higbee as well. So it's Matt Stafford for me.
Personally, I'm just really upset that you neglected their tight end one, Jacob Harris. So let's just, let's call it what it is. But I'm totally in agreement. I think that this is Stafford in a big way. I love that offense is what it is with Sean McVay. I think there was a lot of times where, like you said, Ryan, Goff's arm ability held back what he wanted to do with an offense. And ever since the news broke of the trade, we've heard nothing but Sean McVay basically wanting to take Stafford out for a nice steak dinner because he's just in love with the guy. He loves the arm talent. He loves the just rocket arm that he has, the mental approach to the game. I think the toughness is a really big factor for him that he loves. The guy just, never comes out. Doesn't matter if he's got 3 broken ribs, he's going to get back in there and on the next play. I'm really excited about this pairing of those two together. I love the skill players that they have. I think that what's going to be really good about it, and from a fantasy perspective, this is kind of one of those double-edged swords, right? Because you look at it and you go, okay, well, they've got a good defense, which might mean less opportunities for the offense, but I trust that the offense is more complete and that they're going to be able to sustain drives and put up more points than Atlanta. So I think that this offense is going to score more points than Atlanta does, even though Atlanta is going to be having to play from behind. Because, listen, Mike Davis, really fun story. Love the picture of his bulging quads, but this dude is not an RB1, and I'm concerned about him going into the season as the RB1 and whether or not he can sustain it over the entire season. So I think there's a pretty decent chance that the wheels kind of fall off for that offense at some point, whereas I think the Rams are going to be a more complete offense. They're going to be able to put up more points. I love both the wide receivers. That's a very interesting conversation in and of itself as to which one of those two you prefer, because I think they're both going to eat. And I think that Stafford's just in a great spot. And I'm really happy for him as a professional to go to a team that can contend. Like, we're probably going to get to see him in the playoffs, and I'm really excited about that. And that's going to be just really fun for a great guy, consummate professional, to be able to finally get a chance in the playoffs.
So I'm going to go ahead and answer this question and everyone after that, and just give the generic blanket. I'll take whoever goes later because I can get a better value off of that. You know? But no, I'm not going to go there. I'm gonna side with these guys. I think Matthew Stafford. There's a bit of an allure with the unknown, but we know the talent in that offense, especially in the receiving game. So I'm really excited about that. And I find myself with the Atlanta options, even though I'm excited about them as well, but I'm more excited about them because of the loss of Julio Jones and not because of, Matt Ryan. So as much as I like Matt Ryan, I hate to say it, but I really think Matthew Stafford is the answer in this one.
That's fair. It's hard for me to avoid Matt Stafford right now, and I actually did not rank him inside my top 12 quarterbacks, and I feel like it's a mistake. But he's literally quarterback 13 for me right now, and I think I'm going to have to move him up because, yes, when everybody else has said a million times yes, if Jared Goff can do the things that Jared Goff did there, why not Matt Stafford, a much improved quarterback, step in and do even better things? Even with the ADP dip there, I don't think it's enough of a dip for me to want Matt Ryan over Matt Stafford. But I will be the Matt Stafford apologist here probably. I think he's going to finish higher maybe than folks surmise, because I think Pitts is going to bail him out a lot.
I was trying to convince myself of that same fact today. I'm like, am I too low? But I still, he's my 20 right now, and I don't see myself moving him.
All right.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Real quick, before we get off this topic, I'm looking it up as I'm talking, so I'm basically time right now. But if you are looking for some fun potential bets to place, I'm looking up the odds right now of Stafford to win MVP. Oh, it's come down quite a bit. He is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He is the 8th best odds to win the MVP award this year.
Wow.
At plus 1,600, which is still great odds. You feel like putting a couple bucks out there, plus 1,600 for Stafford to win the.
I say 1,600 sounds like a value, but when you say he's the 8th highest, that sounds like ludicrous.
Really? He has the exact same odds right now, according to DraftKings, as Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray.
Interesting.
Wow.
Look, I love Stafford, but I just don't see how he can win MVP. I mean, regardless of what kind of season they have, they made it to a Super Bowl with Jared Goff. So, I mean, really, how can you put him at MVP level at this stage of his career? That's what betting's for, though, right? That's if you want to get that plus 1,600 back, then fine, go right ahead. But I don't know if I'd put money on that one.
Hey,
give me Kyler in that, by the way.
In that system, with losing Cam Akers at the running back position,
that's fair.
They're going to have to throw more, especially in the red zone. You could be looking at like a 4,600 yard, 38 touchdown season out of Matt Stafford, and I wouldn't blink if that ended up being his stat line at the end of the year. Yeah. So I don't know if you throw, I'll put $5 on plus 1,600 odds. Sure, why not?
First of all, John, stop talking bad about Darrell Henderson. Second, Dustin, do we have another quarterback challenge loaded in the chamber?
Well, I'm going to move away from quarterbacks here. Like I said, I'm going to jump around. And I'm going to talk about a couple wide receivers here, teammates that I'm high on one, I'll admit, but the rest of the world seems high on the other. So I'd love to hear your guys' opinions on this. So it's Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel.
Oh,
so yeah, we got Ayuk going at wide receiver 25, and Deebo going at wide receiver 35. And they're going about 25 picks apart in the draft, 63rd and 88th overall. Nate, why don't we start with you this time?
Yeah, you said Debo is going much later, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so I think Ayuk is the new shiny toy. As quick as that has turned around for the whole Debo hype, like everyone, I say this all the time in the fantasy industry, we're so quick to just move on to the next guy without giving time to develop to players that we were super high on to begin with. So I'm going to go ahead and take Debo here because I still think he's got all that talent that everybody was so boasting about. And it's almost the, what have you done for me lately situation when it comes to these two, I think. And, honestly, they both kind of scare me because of the situation in San Francisco. We don't know what's going to happen there at quarterback. How long is Jimmy G going to be, in that role, what have you. But, in this situation, I'm going Debo because it's such a significant, difference in where they're going. I think that Debo actually provides a safer floor than Brandon Ayuk.
Mm-hmm. Rebuttals, anyone? Or agreements?
It's Ayuk for me. I don't pretend to be a film grinder at all, but when I caught glimpses of Ayuk, it reminded me a lot of what we see Robert Woods do for the Los Angeles Rams, where they love to run the little end arounds and things like that to him. They're not doing it as much as Woods gets it, but maybe that's something that's going to develop over time. I know the stats are pretty damning when Kittle, Debo, and Ayuk are all together. It doesn't play out as well for Ayuk as what his rookie year overall looks like. If you're going to have a wide receiver one on that team, I think Ayuk is more built for that role than Debo is. Obviously, Kittle's going to lead the team in targets, assuming health. But I would rather have Ayuk in that situation. Ayuk ranked surprisingly high for me when I finished my projections. I think he's up at like my wide receiver 21, 22, something like that. So it's funny that you brought him up. I was looking today at my rankings on guys that I'm way higher on than like ADP and consensus. And Ayuk was one where I'm like, I'm going to walk out of a lot of because we're getting heavy into draft season right now. I think I'm going to walk out of a lot of drafts with Ayuk just because I like him even better. I understand Nate's absolutely right of the what have you done for me lately. I like him even better than that. So I'm going to die on this hill.
John, who you got?
Well, while Ryan was talking, I basically flip-flopped 5 times. That essentially tells you kind of where I'm at with these guys. I think that both of them are okay. No, I'm not going to be a fence sitter. If I have to choose one,
Both perform very well, and you'd be happy to have either of them on.
Yeah,
your
I
team.
would be super happy to have either one of these options.
John, just say next question.
I refuse to answer pursuant my Fifth Amendment rights. No,
That's a HIPAA violation to even ask that question.
Oh, HIPAA. Get out of here with HIPAA. Which, by the way, I kind of want to write a children's book called Hippo the Hippo. But,
while just explaining people's medical rights to them.
Yeah, I might do it and then send one to the congressional floor. And be like, here, let me explain HIPAA to you like you're 5.
So he's taking Debo. That's what I get out of it.
Anyways, listen, not to be a fence sitter, I really do love both of these guys at their value. If I'm literally having to pick one in a vacuum over the other, I'm going to take Debo because we're talking about 10 wide receivers later. I think that there's just more value to be had there. I love Ayuk's game, but I think that Debo is so much cheaper right now just because he had an injury-plagued year last year, especially if you're looking at this from a trade standpoint. Ayuk's going to cost you probably 2 firsts to go get. Like, I've tried in multiple occasions to get him, even offering like a first and maybe a lesser wide receiver, and I haven't gotten him. Like, he's getting really, really expensive, whereas we talked about like Debo Day like a month ago, Jake, where I think, was it you and I that made the trade, or was it someone else? Where I didn't
separate trades. You made a trade in a separate league, and I made a trade in our league with Michelle Majuk to get Debo. But yeah,
in a separate league, I got Debo for 2 future seconds, and to me, I was like, that's screaming value on a guy that I think could return very, very similar production to what Ayuk is going to give you, because Shanahan uses both of them basically interchangeably, just like his running backs. So I think that both of them provide really good value and are going to be excellent in fantasy. But if I'm forced to pick one or the other at value, I'll take Debo 10 wide receivers later.
I love that. Dustin and I have a beer bet about this. We both prefer Debo, actually, but I just think they'll finish much closer together than he does. He thinks it's Debo by a landslide. I think it'll be pretty
Big
close.
Debo stan over here.
Either way, obviously, we're both taking Debo at that ADP drop there. And I actually have my concerns about all of these guys if Trey Lance is the starter for the majority of the year. Nate, I think you kind of alluded to that. Like, yeah, if Jimmy's there, great. I love Lance for himself for fantasy, but I could see an issue with any of these guys even getting 100 targets if he's the starter for the majority of the time. So it gives me a little bit of pause. I want the guy who's used a little bit more with utility, if you will, with Debo. Ryan, you mentioned Robert Woods. That's what I loved about Debo was he got like 3 rushing touchdowns in his initial year there. So, I think it's sorry, Ryan, but the consensus is spoken, and you have been kicked off of the show because you didn't agree with Debo.
Voted up the end. Get wrecked.
All right, let's move over to the tight end position here. We've got going at tight end 5 and tight end 6 respectively, Mark Andrews and the new apostle TJ Hawkinson, going at 53 and 54 overall, literally back-to-back picks.
Wow.
John, let's throw it to you first for this one.
Yeah, so we're basically just calling it a coin flip. I'm taking Mark Andrews between the two of them straight up this year because, one, I think the offense as a whole is going to be looking really good. I think they want to see Lamar Jackson take the next step as a passer. And we've seen that in the moves that they've made with the draft and taking Rashad Bateman in the first and then doubling down with Tylan Wallace later. We've seen that they are prioritizing a passing attack in this offense because the straight up run game has stalled out when it's come to playoff time, and they understand that they need a diverse offense in order to go far. So I think that we are going to see Lamar Jackson take the most passing attempts that he's had in his career yet this season. And I think that that is going to translate to even more usage from Mark Andrews, especially in the red zone where he thrives and he eats. I think that Mark Andrews could potentially lead all tight ends in touchdowns this season. Like Travis Kelce, obviously, like we know it, we love him, it's great. They've bolstered their offensive line a lot, and I think they're going to use Clyde Edwards-Helaire a lot more down in the red zone than they did last year. Even though they used him a lot, he just didn't convert him. I think with an improved offensive line that they've done in Kansas City, we're going to see more rushing touchdowns in KC and less throwing in the red zone to Travis Kelce. Whereas when we get down into the red zone in Baltimore, I think that Mark Andrews is going to continue to see a lot of usage in that area, and he's going to be right up there contending with the most touchdowns. Detroit, listen, we all want to talk about, well, no one else is there except for the sun god Amon-Ra St. Brown, who I'm in love with. And it's like, yeah, that's great. He's going to have a bigger slice of a smaller pie, but their offense is going to suck. Like it could be really, really bad in Detroit. So the overall opportunities for Hawk, while he'll have a great dominator rating, if you want to use that number on it, is going to be fantastic. I think the overall production out of him could be lower than what we are thinking it might be. So I think that Mark Andrews, I think he sees an uptick in total targets. I think he sees an uptick in red zone usage. And I think that he is kind of being kind of the untalked about man in the tight end position this year, where he could be right up there in the top 3, pretty easily.
Mm-hmm. Nate, what do you think?
I hate this question because they're both going too early for me to target a tight end. So
what was the overall again, Dustin?
53 and 54.
Yeah, it's back to back. So it's like you said, it's a coin toss for me. John makes some good points when it comes to Hawkinson probably being the better talent at this point in his career than Mark Andrews. However, the opportunity, especially when it comes to the tight end position, getting the opportunities is the key thing. Like if you don't have touchdowns behind those numbers, you're, even at like a good tight end, the tight end 10, who cares about the tight end 10? You probably dropped him 4 times throughout the entire season to stream somebody else and pick him back up when he has a better matchup.
Sounds like Jimmy Graham.
It sounds like Jimmy Graham. Exactly. So for me, I'm going to take whoever's going later. Yeah, he's going to go get another beer. But in this case, like neither one's going later. I think I'm going to go with Hawkinson just because I think that, there's going to be less opportunity in that offense, but I think he's going to see more target share than Mark Andrews is in the Baltimore offense. So that's a long way to say that, but that's my answer.
But a beautiful way to say it. You nailed it.
All right, Ryan.
Ryan, what do you think?
To quote the smartest guy on Twitter in an article I just edited, middle round tight ends are a trap. They've always been a trap. Stay away from them. I think Jake just said that in the Football Guys blurb that we got from him.
Sounds like last was Hunter Henry, basically.
Yeah. That being said, I'm going to credit another Football Guys writer. Jeff Bell put out an article very pro Mark Andrews. I was down on Andrews mainly because I felt burnt by him last year and was actually up on Hawkinson because the recipe was right. So I'm kind of just combining John and Nate's points here. The recipe was right for Hawkinson to have a huge target share. I have since flipped mainly because I do think Andrews is going to score touchdowns. I think Andrews is back to being the last elite tight end and Hawkinson is back in the trap category. So I would go Andrews.
Jake, one word answer. Who do you got?
One word? Why would you do this?
You've already blown your one word.
Broke it. That's it.
Get me
That's his
off.
answer.
I'm done. I can't handle
Next-
that kind of pressure.
next
Hawkinson.
All right. Let's move over to running backs. And I'm going to skip one just because John called it out pre-show, and I'm just not even going to bring it up just to spite him.
You gotta let the listeners know, though. We got to come back to it later, at least.
Maybe. We'll see.
Whoa.
Wow.
Wow,
Don't piss off the man behind the curtain.
I was going to
John,
say,
all right?
Justin with the
such
power
a power
move
trip
here.
right now. He's
That's
like,
right.
I hold the buttons. I can do what I want to do.
That's right. I can drop you from this feed at any second. Don't forget that.
Big D energy over there.
You know it.
I didn't know Dustin was Nick Foles.
Yep.
Now you know. Now you know. All right. So let's talk about playoff Lenny and his partner in crime, Ronald Jones. They are going back to back as RB 34 and 35 at 78 and 81 overall. So again, very close in ADP. Jake, why don't we start with you this time?
As many words as you like.
Gonna be concise now because we bored our listeners with this in previous episodes. For me, it's Ronald Jones. I don't understand what Leonard Fournette's role actually is in that offense this year with Gio Bernard there. And I take Ronald as the better pure runner.
All right, Ryan.
See, originally I would have said Fournette because I thought he'd be more involved in the passing game, but the bringing in of Giovanni Bernard has killed that. So I'm all about Ronald Jones as well in that situation.
Okay. John?
Yeah, I'm really good at being long-winded, so I'm going to not. And it's just Ronald Jones for me that I think is the lead back there. And again, I'm very similar to what they're saying. I don't know what Leonard Fournette's role is in this offense this year because I think that Rojo is the starting running back. And barring an injury, I don't see how Leonard Fournette sees the field for more than 8 touches a game tops, maybe on the high end. I just don't see it. I think it's Rojo.
All right. And Nate?
But Lenny has such a good relationship with Tom Brady, guys. Come on. So, this is the whole what have you done for me lately? Lenny's probably going to get a lot more of the, hey, man, he caught fire at the end, obviously, there, especially in the Super Bowl and how amazing he looked. But if I'm being honest, I don't really like Rojo, but he did look throughout the season when he was on the field. He looked like the more explosive back. He looked like the better back of the two. And I love Leonard Fournette, but I'm going to go with Rojo this year.
Is Rojo just like poor man's David Montgomery?
He's just a poor man, I think. He's
The thing is, I think Montgomery is actually effective in the passing game. It
No,
seems
I
like
love-
Rojo is actually regressing as a pass catcher.
Yeah, the hype last year around him working so hard on his pass catching in the preseason, and then you see videos of him like brick handing them. It's just not ideal.
Even his legs don't look like they work right when he is a pass catcher.
His legs can't even catch a ball. Like, what are we doing here, guys?
What are we doing
By the way,
here?
I think the secret answer is neither, and it's Gio Bernard like,
Gio.
at the very end of
All
your
day.
draft.
Yes.
But-
Touche. Very good.
All right, we're going to bounce back to wide receiver here. And one of the players we're going to talk about, we're sticking with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and that's Antonio Brown going at wide receiver 37. And then this surprised me, Brandon Cooks going at wide receiver 42.
Oh boy.
This
Oh.
will not stand. This will not stand.
Jake, I already
will
know
let
your
everybody
stance.
talk.
I already know your stance, Jake.
John, do you want to start us off? You look disgusted at this.
Yeah, I am, for many, many reasons that have absolutely nothing to do with football, but it surrounds literally both of these players. Antonio Brown has his own domestic violence crap, off the field issues, which, it just disgusts me. And that's a really hard ethical question in terms of how do we approach those things when it comes to fantasy football. Like, do I want to support someone and be like, yeah, this person can help me win a fantasy championship, but they have a DV on the record? It's a really tough conversation to have. And then you put it over to Houston, where we have the Deshaun Watson debacle right now, and we don't know what's going on there. So it's hard for me to delineate those things away from it. But if I am, and putting them aside, if Deshaun Watson is going to be the starting quarterback for Houston, and we have no idea, and I don't think that Houston has any idea. The way that they're handling this whole thing, where he's like at practice but not at practice, and he's not hurt, and he's just kind of there but not doing anything. It's like they're waiting and hoping that someone decides to come in and give them the Brinks truck for Deshaun Watson. And they can be like, oh, finally, thank you. Yes, take him and be your problem, and we can get out from under it. But it's like, guys, the regular season is less than a month away. You need to shit or get off the pot here. We don't know what's going on with the quarterback situation there. But the thing is, with where they're going in the draft, there's already a lot of risk baked in. I think there's more risk baked in with Brandon Cooks because of the whole quarterback situation. If Deshaun Watson is there, I think that Cooks finishes higher by a considerable margin than Antonio Brown, because it's Brandon Cooks and then it's Nico Collins. And that's the entire wide receiver depth chart. Antonio Brown has Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, the running back game, Giovanni Bernard, who might be the next James White for Tom Brady. There's more mess around that. Then you got Tyler Johnson and Jalen Darden and Scotty Miller. There's so many wide receivers in that depth chart that are going to factor in on a random game. Whereas if it is going to be Deshaun Watson, then it's got to be Brandon Cooks. But I can't treat the Houston situation as though Deshaun Watson is going to be the starting quarterback for the entire year, because I don't see it. Then again, I'm putting too much hope in the commissioner to actually do something, where Deshaun Watson should have been on the commissioner's exempt list months ago. So I don't know. This is a real just mess of a question. I think I'll go with Antonio Brown because it feels safer. And that's
I'll make it simple. And it's actually the opposite for me, which is I'll even assume Tyrod Taylor is the quarterback in Houston. I think Brandon Cooks has been one of the most consistent wide receivers in the game, very under the radar. No one respects the guy. Yes, he's played with elite MVP type quarterbacks for the majority of his career. But, even with that, we're talking about a safe floor here. Antonio Brown is boom or bust, and his boom isn't even that great. So for me, I'm not even interested in Antonio Brown this year. I will go with Brandon Cooks 10 times out of 10 if it's between these two.
Ryan?
It's so hard for me to call Brandon Cooks consistent because he was such a roller coaster early on in his career, but he has definitely, his end of the year stats are always nice, but his game stats, basically for me, it's, do I want one team's wide receiver 1 or another team's wide receiver 3? And John brought up all the wide receivers. You still have the 3 tight ends there if OJ Howard can get on the field. There's just so much working against Brown. But the biggest decision maker for me is there are a lot of people out there who think Brown could lead the Buccaneers. I am firmly away from that camp. I love
that's Godwin.
Chris Godwin. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Mike Evans. I like both of them. So Brown is firmly third for me, whereas Cooks, no matter what happens, no matter who's at quarterback, he's the one. In my projections, I actually have the quarterback as a 50-50 split right now. So I hope that I have that risk baked in, and I still have Cooks 6 spots ahead of Brown. So it's Cooks for me.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I wanted to bring this one up, is because I thought the same thing with Antonio Brown. I'm like, he's at best the third option on that team, with Godwin and Evans just being elite ahead of him. And it just floored me that that he was going higher than the wide receiver one on another team. So
Wide receiver 42. What the fuck are we doing, you guys? Brandon Cooks, are you kidding me? By the way, I don't care if Tyrod starts the entire season. He is a wide receiver 2, top 24 guy, regardless of who's there for me. So I am just all over Cooks.
Yep.
I think that's fair.
all right, we'll bounce back to quarterbacks here. We got Baker Mayfield, QB 17, or Ryan Fitzpatrick at QB 22.
Yeah.
And we've got Baker going 100 or 133rd overall, and Ryan Fitzpatrick going at 158.
Let me go first. Let me go first. Okay.
Go.
So,
Go, man, go.
Baker Mayfield has burnt me so many times where I was just like, this is the year for him, and it just doesn't happen. So we know who Baker Mayfield is, I think, at this point. Ryan Fitzpatrick, we've seen him play amazing and still lose his job to Jameis Winston. I don't know what that was all about and that whole thing, but we've seen what Ryan Fitzpatrick can do, and I think Washington's actually made it clear that he's not just like a filler guy for them. He is their quarterback, for the foreseeable future, whether it's 2 years, 3 years, whatever. But I love the talent in that offense, and I think that the Washington football team is going to be possibly they could win that division in the NFC East, and that's coming from a Cowboys fan. So I'm going to go ahead with Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think. Well, thank you. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick, because of how good that defense is, they're going to want to control the ball as long as possible. So he's going to have more passing opportunities throwing shorter than having to chuck it all the time, which might not be as good for fantasy football. So I'm kind of like working against myself here. But I think that because of how good their defense is, their offense is going to have control of the ball for the majority of their games this year, which benefits all offensive weapons. So I'm going to go Fitzpatrick with this one.
John, what do you think?
Okay, John, you're raising your hand. That's
He
very
raised
polite
his
of you.
hand. He's being nice.
Yeah, I think that if you're taking Ryan Fitzpatrick, you're just like saying F it to the moon, let's go. Like, you're riding the roller coaster at that point, and I'm all for it. Like, let's do it. Let's just take the ride. Let's see what happens. I agree with everything that Nate is saying. I think that the cast of weapons that they have in Washington is incredibly underrated. And I think that they're going to want to throw the ball a lot more in Washington than what they're going to ask Baker to do in Cleveland. Cleveland, they're going to run the ball. They're going to control it. They're going to, try to play defense and run it. And I think that they want to do something similar in Washington. But I just think that it's so against Ryan Fitzpatrick's nature that even when there's a play action pass, he's going to see De'Ami Brown running down the sideline and he's going to chuck it 40 yards just for kicks. And it's going to turn into a touchdown. So I think you're going to potentially have more big plays out of Fitzmagic because of just his play style. And I think it's actually a really interesting fit because you're basically asking Ryan Fitzpatrick to play a role that he's never played because he's always had to be the YOLO guy. Mm-hmm. That's just what he's always had to do. And now you're like, hey, shush, stop it. We have a top 5, top 3 defense, maybe even maybe the best defense in the NFL, especially best front 7 for my money in the entire NFL. It's like, you don't have to take those big crazy gambles. You just got to throw it and control it and like keep the chain moving. I think that Fitz, though, is going to take more of those shots than what we're going to see out of Baker, because with Baker, you're asking it to be OBJ coming off a major injury, and honestly, OBJ just has not been OBJ for years. And everyone on the OBJ bounce back train, I'm sorry, you can have him. I'm not going to draft him. I'm just not. I'm out. If it turns out, great, happy for you, but it's not going to be me. Jarvis Landry getting up there as well, more of a kind of slot possession guy at this point in his career. You know, he's not really going to be stretching the field a whole bunch. They don't really have those like stretch the field. Like they've got younger, unproven stretch the field guys in Cleveland, but Washington has Terry McLaurin who can legit stretch a field. De'Ami Brown did it all throughout college. I think that those two guys can take the top off of defense and really open things up more for Fitz than what we're going to see out of Cleveland. So I think especially being able to get Fitz later, if you're taking Fitz, like if we're talking about this like a one quarterback redraft league and you're taking Fitz in the 15th round of your last pick, roll that dice. Let's see what happens and try to hit on it and turn into a, you know, top 10, top 12 quarterback type of guy.
It's Baker for me, like by a lot.
Wow. Good
Just a
job
couple-
holding your breath that whole time.
I
That
say
was
just a
amazing.
couple of quick things because John brought up a great point about how much more Washington will throw the ball than Cleveland. It was 100 times last year. It'll probably be 100 times or more again this year. But in that same situation, throwing the ball 100 fewer times last year, Baker still threw 26 touchdown passes without Odell Beckham. Ryan Fitzpatrick hasn't hit 26 touchdown passes since 2015, and that's mainly because through interceptions or injuries, he's not staying on the field.
Right. He's going to be the starter for the entire season this year.
Even last year, he was only pacing for 26. So that's matching Baker with more passing attempts, I believe, in Miami. I don't know for a fact. I do think Odell's going to bounce back a little, not wide receiver one Odell. Let me be clear. If you're waiting on that, you can have him. But I just think Baker is going to be hyper efficient. One thing we're getting from Baker that we haven't gotten from Baker yet is a second year in the same system. And I think that's going to really play out well for him as quarterback growth. And I think it's going to be a really good year. I will say I'm looking at it more as someone who has a safe floor. Fitzpatrick has the way higher ceiling. Like it's not even close with Terry McLaurin, with Antonio Gibson, with Curtis Samuel. Way higher ceiling on Ryan Fitzpatrick, but way lower floor as well, just because he's gonna Ryan Fitzpatrick some games. So.
The floor is the bottom of the ocean.
Nah.
So we're basically in agreement on the analysis standpoint.
It's just how we build our teams. Is
how we build our
different.
teams
Yep.
from a risk aversion standpoint as to what you'd prefer to do. Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Dustin,
Jake, any
you know
opinions?
how I want. You know how I want. I want
I
Ryan
know.
Fitz. I want him.
I
I want
know.
him hard. I want him every opportunity I get. He's a quarterback 10 the last 3 years for the stretches where he's been a consistent starter. He hasn't finished below that on points per game basis. Now he gets better weapons than he's had over those last 3 years. I am choosing to believe he will be the starter for the majority, if not the entirety of the season. I'm not buying into the hanky-hankiness, if I can make that a phrase, if we could get that trending on Twitter. So I do want Fitz, and I will take him for his highs and lows because I know the lows will be there. I just want those game-winning opportunities.
Okay, so two things. One, I'm probably going to go as Ryan Fitzpatrick for Halloween, so I need to decide between like the black getup, you know, with the chain.
No,
and the
Miami Vice. The
or
Miami
the
Vice.
Miami Vice is the other option. So I need to
I'm
figure
going
out
with
which one of those two that I'm going to go with.
You don't wear black on Halloween. It's not good. It's not a good idea.
That's smart. That's smart. No,
Get
I
hit by a car, buddy. I mean,
we'll go with the
I'm a
Miami
dad.
Vice.
I gotta think. I think safety. Safety
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
Be bright. Be
Yeah.
colorful.
I love it. All right, that's good. Secondly, why the hell did Washington not take a quarterback at number 2 overall next year or last year? I don't care how good Chase turns out to be. Like he can be a Hall of Fame defensive end. That's great. But if they're not winning championships, when you have the number 2 overall pick, you have an opportunity to change your franchise at the quarterback position. They were in love with Justin Herbert. That was the person that they had said that they liked more at the number 2 overall pick. They were literally choosing between Herbert and Chase Young, and you already have a stacked front defensive 7. How do you not go franchise quarterback and then put yourself in a situation where your defense is so good that you're not going to be choosing that high again for years, and now you've got a journeyman quarterback as your starting QB? I just don't
John,
have
we
the
all
answer.
know defense wins championships, buddy. I mean, we've heard it a million times.
I mean, have you not Googled this phrase before, John?
right? My
First
God.
time around
You know
the
what?
football water cooler, John.
You know what?
No, I have the answer. You know how you feel about a player that's burned you for fantasy the last year? That's how they felt with Dwayne Haskins.
Yep.
And they said, we're not going to put ourselves in that situation again to get
Exactly.
burned by one of these other potential stud quarterbacks. And so they went the opposite route.
And really, all you need is a great defense, and Trent Dilfer is your quarterback. You don't need you don't need a superstar quarterback to win a Super Bowl. I mean, come on.
Hey, as a former
Is out.
as a former defunct Seattle Seahawks fan, I can talk to you about Trent Dilfer and defense. We can have that conversation. Trent Dilfer was a god. Anyways, interesting aside. I just can't believe they put themselves in this situation where now they don't know what their long-term quarterback situation is, when they basically have a team that's like ready to go outside of the quarterback position. It just, I don't know. It's weird.
Hey,
It doesn't- blah, 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 blah.
Maybe they'll be in the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes after this season.
There you go.
It won't be.
It's possible.
All right.
No.
It won't.
All right, we're sitting at an hour, boys. But if you got time for a couple more here, I'd like to hit
Certainly.
a couple more.
I ain't going anywhere. Let's
Nope,
go.
I'm out of here.
Excellent. Well,
they didn't even log off. We're just going
I
to have
have-
to stare at his
I have so
chair
much
for
run
the next 20 minutes.
perfect. I love this.
I'll put
All right.
this in there.
Fucking please don't put the Michael Myers mask
this
in
one?
your steed. I can't handle. Could you put like the Mike Myers, like the SNL guy, in that place instead? Because
You know what? You just gave me a good idea to do an Austin Powers mask with the white face and all that. That would be cool.
There you go.
Ooh.
Done. There's your Halloween concept. Just make it. That'll be bright enough too, because you'll have the flare from the Austin
Yes.
Powers, so
So
you
here's-
won't get hit by a car.
Here's the thing. I've got very limited options with this going on. So when I've got a quarterback in the NFL that like resembles the general construct of what I have going on, I'm pretty much forced into embracing it.
I think you
That's
should wear an
bald man.
upside down beard right here and have it go up. So then your beard like this, the whole, you know what I'm saying?
You know,
So
I
you just-
cut off like probably 3 inches a couple months ago. If I hadn't, I probably could have gotten it up.
That's what we call a beard fence in the industry. You're like, you could go as Wilson from Home Improvement,
I
where you
love it.
only see like the top half, but it's just your beard.
Yes.
That's a deep
Walk
dive
around,
there,
I'll have
Jake.
like pulled up and I'll be like, "Howdy ho, neighbor."
And for all those 20-somethings out there that didn't get that reference.
None.
All right, so we're going to bounce back to wide receiver here, and this is a trio of wide receivers. I want to get your guys' take on. So we're talking Cincinnati.
Wait a second. I was told it'd be 1v1.
No,
That's it.
I don't recall ever saying that.
No, there's absolutely no rules
Did we
to
break
this at all.
contract here? Is that
Dustin.
what did we break contract?
Yeah.
There was
Dustin,
nothing. There was nothing.
it's not this or that. It's this or that.
I
It's
hate
called-
to be a
it's
dick,
called Would
but
You
the
Rather.
game's called Would You Rather.
Yeah, would you rather have this guy, or this guy? It's would you rather?
Yeah, Ryan knows. He came up with it. They trademarked it.
Justin, don't let us
Joe
talk
has
to you
taught
like
me
that.
the
You
rules.
just man up and own this and say, "Deal with it, Nate," or get off my show. That's what you gotta
Well,
say.
I'm still gonna talk about him, whether you guys want to
Okay.
answer or not. That's up to you. So.
Fair enough. Good. Let's go.
Oh,
I'm
good.
very interested.
All right.
So
Let's
yeah,
do
the Cincinnati wide receivers, very hotly debated here this offseason.
it.
And I think we all like them for various reasons. So we got
Boyd.
Jamar Chase going at wide receiver 24, T. Higgins going at wide receiver 29, or Tyler Boyd going at wide receiver 39.
Boyd.
Boyd?
Boyd by
Boyd?
1,000 million.
I
miles.
mentioned my 3 wide receivers that I'm higher on than everybody, not everybody else, but higher on than ADP. Boyd is one of those as well, where he'll be on a lot of my teams. So
Jake, you're the
Cincinnati's
same?
going to have a whole lot of fun with the second incarnation of N'Keal Harry with their first round pick. It's going to be great.
wow.
That's
That
a bit
that is
bold
a
for
hot
my
take.
pants. But wow, Well, we can clip that out, and we'll just save that for perpetuity.
Yep.
No, I am out on Chase for this year based on his ADP and the whole year off of football and coming into an offense that isn't going to have a lot of time to throw because of their O-line.
Because they used the pick on Chase instead of Penei Sewell. Which was
I think it'll be slightly improved. Don't get me wrong from last year, but I don't think it's going to be saved this year for Chase to be.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be
for me.
better. You're getting injured guys back. Like, it'll be improved, but
Can I just do a little PSA real quick?
Sure.
Not every rookie hits.
Nope.
correct.
Mhm.
And they
In fact-
usually don't.
They usually don't. Thank you very much. Let's move on. Next.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Was this a Corey Coleman episode this whole time? And
Oh
nobody's
my
on me?
goodness.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in agreement too. I love Tyler Boyd, especially at his ADP. I think
So
he's
good.
just going to get peppered with targets, and I'm going to smash that all day long. All right, let's head over back. What's that?
One. You just need to take out the I'm gonna smash that all day long.
Good drop. That's a good
I'm
drop.
actually going to use that in our next beef jerky ad. If you don't like that, that was a great idea.
It's a great drop. You gotta use that.
I
That's
love it.
gold. That's gold.
All right, let's bounce back to tight end here. Another pair of teammates here with Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. My one-time love of Jonnu Smith. Hunter Henry is going as tight end 11 at 100 overall, and Jonnu is going at tight end 18 at 152 overall. Nate, let's start with you.
I'm sorry. Who's going later?
Jonnu.
Okay, that's my answer. There it is.
It has nothing to do with later for me.
Like clockwork.
It's
No,
John.
no, I'm being facetious, but
Oh,
it's seriously. I mean, isn't that shocking? Me being a little sarcastic, but no, yeah, it's Jonnu Smith. I think Hunter Henry. He is going. Bill Belichick does not have the patience for anyone dealing with injuries and tweaks here and there every week, every other week. He's dealing with this. He's dealing with that. Jonnu Smith will be heavily involved in this offense, and I think he's going to be one of Cam Newton's top targets, if I'm being honest with you. So,
Yeah, I have him leading the team in targets. I think he's going to be used more as a wide receiver, and it's even before Henry's injury today, I think, or yesterday.
Right.
It was Jonnu for me by a long shot. So
I'm completely in agreement. Even both healthy, this is Jonnu straight up, not even at value, where he's going
Right.
exponentially later. It is a landslide for Jonnu. Not only that, over under 3.5 rushing touchdowns for Jonnu Smith this year.
ooh,
Oh,
because of Cam, I would
take-
go under.
I'll go
Thank
under.
you.
I'll
That's
take
what I was
three.
gonna
I'll
say.
take three.
Still, though, the fact that he can add those in, and we've already
Yeah.
seen clips of them factoring him into the running game in training camp, that's going to be part of the red zone package that they're putting together. I think Jonnu Smith lines up all over the formation, whereas Hunter Henry is going to be an inline guy if and when he does, come back healthy. I think that Jonnu's the guy that's going to be split and lined up, and with his athleticism and giving a big friendly target to whoever's at quarterback, I think that he's going to be, I think he's going to be the highest scoring pass catcher in that offense this year.
Well, I want to the smart people watching this show, when you get your draft sheet or whatever you're using for your draft, immediately cross Hunter Henry's name off, because it's a trap. You're going to see him as ADP tight end 11. Some idiot in your league is going to take him somewhere around there. It's arguably the most broken ADP in fantasy football right now. At the very least, Jonnu and Henry should be flipped. It should be Jonnu going off as the 11, Henry going off as the 19, and I still wouldn't touch Henry as the 19 in the tight end premium where I had to start 2 tight ends. I want nothing to do with him this year. Jonnu, I want everything to do with. Jonnu is one of my last Jonnu's ADP is broken to your benefit if you're paying attention. Whenever I jump on a best ball, the first thing I do is throw Jonnu in my queue, because he's so far down, you will forget about him. And he's always one of my last picks in best ball. He's always sitting there because nobody wants to scroll. That's the biggest advantage if just to throw a tip out. If you're doing an online draft, while everybody else is picking high, have an idea of who you're going to take and scroll the bottom of the list and look for those values that are so far down, people are going to forget to go look for them, and pop those people in your queue so you can remember to take them with your last 4 to 5 picks. And that's what I do with Jonnu Smith.
Love it, Ryan.
All good things. All good things.
I'm going Jonnu, by the way. I'm Team Jonnu because I can't, after all of that, what am I going to do? Be the asshole who says,
Oh my God.
I would
I would have had Dustin kick
better
you
not,
off the
Jake.
show if you had tried to make a Henry argument.
I know.
I feel like I need to for like debate team. Like if it was high school, like I have to take the opposition just for the sake of doing it. But that would be a disservice, I think, because I would just sound like even more of a dickhead than I normally do. So as Jonnu, 100%.
Oh, you guys make me so happy with all this Jonnu love. You're making blood flow around here, and
right.
it makes me happy.
You and Kyle Yates, man. You and Kyle Yates need to have a conversation about Jonnu.
Oh, he
blood
was
flow,
my
another
guy
good
last
drop
year.
for
It
you meat
was
sticks.
Nope.
Yeah.
Just I love this. Just get all the fodder for our ad read,
love it.
Jake. Just keep that in the back of your head.
So much meat stick content coming up. It's
Like,
ridiculous.
when you do cut these things,
I'm
I
almost
need
empty
you to
here.
send them to me. Yeah, fix that, Nate. When you do cut these, Jake, I need you to send them to me. To all of us. Put it in a group chat to all of us. We need that to happen.
All right, I will make them. I'll make some gifts for you guys.
Oh,
Gifts
very
is
nice.
gifts going away from this
Christmas
podcast. What do you
gifts.
think, though? That's right. That's right. Do we have one more that we could do here, Dustin? And could it maybe be the one that I pointed out? In our
Is it possibly the second grouping of running backs? I don't know.
Possibly. Yes. All right. I'll relent here and we can talk about it. Just to make John happy that, he called it before the show even started here.
kind of called it, by the way. I want to say.
Oh,
not
we
entirely.
did say grouping, not pair. Do we have 3 again?
No. I just he was on the right track, but not 100% there. That's all.
Yeah. So this is RB pairing here. Jonathan Taylor and Najee Harris. They are currently on Fantasy Data ADP, both at RB10, going 14 overall average ADP. So
I'll go last.
all right, Ryan, why don't we start with you for this last time around the horn here?
By the way, I'm getting pepper to the thunder.
I am notoriously down on Najee. When you look at Football Guys consensus, I'm always the last one. I think I have him at 24 or 25 right now. So
Whoa.
I'm forced
I have him at 16. I thought that was low.
Ryan, do you have an article as to why?
I do not. It's mainly about
You need
not
to.
liking the offensive line. I don't think. I know Tomlin's history is bell cow. I don't know that they're going to bell cow him. I'll be interested to see if it happens. So,
Okay, write it and send it to me.
all right.
Yeah, and call it a fantasy football bust. You've got to use the keywords. Okay.
To be
Fantasy
fair,
Oh, DTFF, you get 5% off of his article. We laid claim.
I do want to throw one thing out. Someone actually wrote this article for Ball Blast, I believe, last week. I am a connoisseur of fantasy information. I am lucky enough to be a stay-at-home dad, so I read everybody's stuff. So someone wrote the article and lays it out probably better than I could. I wish I could remember who it was. Maybe
Sounds
Teddy.
like Teddy.
I'm almost positive it was Teddy.
Sounds like Teddy.
Just dropped it last week. It was 3 running backs who he thinks are going to bust, and Najee was the first one. John won me over on Jonathan Taylor very early last year. If John's the conductor, I'm second in command on that hype train. So it's Jonathan Taylor by a very, very wide margin for me.
Mm-hmm.
I've literally never loved you more.
So, yeah, I'll jump in here and I'll say that I did a little guest spot on for the fantasy the Ball Blast girls last year.
Yes.
Prior to the season on CH, and how I think that he was going to be the fantasy football bust and he was going to
you called
rival
that
Miles Sanders.
perfectly last year.
So I just doubled down on 2 running backs that everyone friggin' loved, and I said both of them are going to bust, and I was hated for quite some time. But I
still are. No.
I still am. I was just going to go there. Thanks, Ryan. I was actually just going to go there. People still hate me. So with me, it's not even close. Jonathan Taylor, RB4. That's where I have him ranked. I don't care if Wentz is there or not. I think this offense is going to be based around Jonathan Taylor. I think last year he was the RB6 in his rookie season, and he's going to have over 300 touches, not even close this season. So I think Jonathan Taylor is going to be worth wherever you draft him.
All right, Jake, we're going to go to you next. John, we're going to let you go last here.
I'm going to be the turd in the soup here, and I actually we're going with this ball blast theme here. I was convinced by Kate Majuk. I think that it's Najee by a hair based on just one simple fact. One is, hey, if Quentin Nelson comes back week 1, then this is going to look silly and foolish. If he doesn't, what we're looking at is 2 similar types of running backs, one of which I don't believe Ryan actually does have any competition for touches. I don't think that McFarland or Snell or any of those guys are going to give him anything. I think it's all him all the time. I'm not worried about Nyheim Hines, but look at what the man did do. And it was early in the season, to be fair, and then that was kind of passed off a little bit. But he was so effective, Nyheim Hines, when he was out there. And he took a lot more, not just catches than we thought, but he took a lot of goal line work, high-value touches. Marlon Mack is a weird question mark for me, and I'm just not ready to write him off completely. I think we're all looking at him to be the baseline for what we expect from Cam Akers coming back in a year, but I am very curious to see if Mack actually does get worked in the way that it seems like based off of training camp reports he will be. So for me, it is Najee by a tiny hair.
Jake, I'm going to disagree with you if you can't see the Wisconsin Badger flag. We've been watching Jonathan Taylor here in Wisconsin ever since he came to Camp Randall, and I do not doubt his talent one bit, regardless if he's lost one of his best offensive linemen or not. I think it took him a little bit to adjust to the NFL. We saw what he could do come the end of the season, and that's just going to continue. So I'm JT all day.
And before we get to John, Jake, you did bring up some great points about the other players, and that's actually why I like JT so much this year, is I believe the Colts misused him so much. Even though he did get a healthy workload, it still wasn't enough. And it was pretty obvious that he should have been getting all of those touches that you're talking about, the goal line work and all that. And I think that I'm hoping they learn from their mistakes, and that's where they go with this season. And if he finished as a top 6 running back in his rookie year, I
want to just tie it back to what we were saying about Fitzpatrick versus Baker. The Steelers don't run the ball enough to begin with. I understand Big Ben is old and fat and slow and all the bad things we want to say about him. They're going to keep throwing the ball. They're bottom 10 in rushing attempts in each of the last 3 seasons. I think they were bottom 5 last year. I don't see them having the ability to run the ball more. The line is bad. That's notorious. Obviously, it could surprise and improve. The line is bad. I don't particularly care for the team this year. I think they're 3rd in their division. I just don't see them having the ability to run the ball enough. I'm not saying Najee can't be good. I think he will be a good running back. He's not going to be Jonathan Taylor good, but I think he can be good. I don't think, and Nate, you said this perfectly, Jonathan Taylor is a 300 touch back for me. Najee, if everything falls his way, I don't have him at 250 touches this year.
Huh. Fair enough.
All
John.
right.
John, you've been writing a monologue.
I've been what?
Dear Diary.
You've been writing a monologue for this.
I know. No kidding.
I have been. Dear Diary, today I learned that other people are dumb.
P.S. I hate Jake.
That was well worth the wait. You could just actually leave it at that. That was just beautiful.
Okay, first and foremost, before I get into my soliloquy here about Jonathan Taylor, I'm getting the most batshit crazy thunderstorm outside right now.
It's coming down from Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's coming down from us. Oh shit!
Oh,
my goodness!
I saw that.
Wow.
Is that because I said something bad about Jonathan Taylor? That should be out my window, not yours.
I was going to say John's Lord and Savior.
We're being smited for your
Repent now.
So literally it's coming. So my building faces east. So this is coming in from like the the Northwest over my building heading out east from Wisconsin. And it's apocalyptic outside. Like, it's so cool looking and it's kind of terrifying, but it's very fitting for me going on a rant about Jonathan.
I was literally going to say, if that lightning is crashing while you're talking about Jonathan Taylor,
do it.
Hands off, man.
All right.
Shut your lights off and talk very dark and mysterious. Here we go. Go.
We're gonna dim this. Hold
There we
on. Okay. So there's a few things about Jonathan Taylor I want to bring up. First and foremost, in 3 years at Wisconsin, he ran for over
Yes.
Nice.
the God of Thunder.
Fucking Thor's favorite running back.
Thor, I love you.
Jonathan Taylor, 101.
Jonathan Taylor, the running back of Thunder, ran for over 6,000 yards in his collegiate career in 3 seasons. He missed 3 straight 2,000-yard seasons by like 2 yards. It was that close. Absolutely insane. His offensive line, according to PFF, was the second best offensive line in the entire NFL going into the 2021 season. Obviously, that's with Quentin Nelson. I'm assuming Quentin Nelson's going to be back week 1. Maybe he misses a week or 2. Okay, cool. Outside of that, you're looking at the second best offensive line in the entire NFL. Frank Reich, a couple days ago, literally said Jonathan Taylor is coming into camp this year as a bell cow. It's not what it was last year. Last year, they gave the responsibilities for running back touches to the RB coach, who would put them out there in the first quarter for like a series at a time. JT, Naheem Hines, even Jordan Wilkinson, throwing him into the mix to basically see who was looking good and then go from there. That's not going to be the case this year. Jonathan Taylor is coming in as the starting running back. Yeah, some of the other running backs are going to factor in. That's just how it goes in the NFL these days. But even last year, even though he was like criminally misused for half the season, like week 2, he had, I think it was 26 carries, something like that. It was 26 exactly, because the next week it was cut in half to 13. He only topped that one time between week 2 and week 10, and it was a 17 carry appearance that he had. From week 10 to the end of the season, he was this bell cow back. So you're talking about a running back that only topped 13 carries one time between week 2 and week 10, and he finished as the 3rd leading rusher in the NFL with over 1,100 rushing yards. Imagine if he had the workload that he did down the back stretch of the season, or at least 75% of the workload that he did down the back stretch of the season. Extrapolated that over the entire season, you're looking at a 1,500 yard running back with 4.39 speed, who was clocked at a faster on-field speed than Tyreek Hill. He was clocked at over 22 miles an hour on a run against the Las Vegas Raiders, where it looked like a corner and a safety were going to converge and tackle him, and he split them and took it the distance. Tyreek Hill was clocked at like 21 and change, just below. You're looking at high efficiency, great offensive line play, being called a bell cow back in his 2nd season by the head coach. 36 catches on 40 attempts last year, was the most efficient rusher, or the most efficient pass catcher in the entire NFL on a percentage basis. If you extrapolate like the 40 catches, since considering he wasn't on the field a whole lot in the first half of games a lot of times last year, let's give him 60 targets this year instead of 40, something along those lines. You're looking at a 50-55 reception season and a guy that was the 3rd leading rusher last year. This has the makings of a top 5 running back all day long. And it's not just me like, you know, sticking to my guns and the fact that I loved him coming into the NFL. He fucking proved it. And his coach agrees with it. And he's going to be that dude. And because there's these concerns around Carson Wentz and around potentially Quentin Nelson, even though I think Quentin Nelson is back week 1 by the looks of it, he's sliding into the 2nd round of drafts. This is stupid. This doesn't make any sense. This is like drafting 2nd-year Ezekiel Elliott in the late 2nd after what he did. It makes no sense whatsoever.
I
So-
agree. And I know we're already running in time. I hate to cut you off, John. I got to say this, though. His last 6 games, it was insane. 90 yards, 91, 150, 83, 74, and then 253
hit that week
against
17.
Jacksonville. I know it's week 17, but let's just say he had 7 rushing touchdowns in his last 4 games. So, yeah, I mean, if they don't go with him like all the way, then forget about it. They're just a dumb organization.
Fine, fucking call Thor. Tell him I'll draft Jonathan Taylor
Yes!
or Najee Harris, I guess, so we can settle the hell down. Oh my god, you have to make such compelling arguments. If you fucking
Fine.
people could just be a little less eloquent about this whole thing, I could feel smarter for an episode.
Well, I mean, we do have a god talking for us, so we should
Thor is
have left it at that.
leaning down on this conversation.
That was
It
great.
really was quite impeccable. I'm very happy right now.
Yeah, that worked out very nice. And yeah, I think that's a great spot to end this.
Did you guys
gentlemen?
put some of those thunderclaps through the
Oh
audio?
yeah,
Oh, yeah,
Thunder,
absolutely.
The Thunder made the argument.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
I want, if I can get clips of the thunder when we talk about Taylor, that'd be great. Fantastic.
Oh fuck.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for coming on the show. Why don't we go around the horn one more time? You guys give any plugs or shout outs that you want to do. Ryan, we'll start with you.
I don't even know what I'm working on. Women of Fantasy over at Club Fantasy. This entire month, I won't even be on the show, so you don't even have to look at my face, which is a bonus in itself. The show will be hosted by Lauren Carpenter and Faith Enos. They have an insane lineup of guests. More importantly, we have a great raffle going on right now. First raffle ends tomorrow at 8:00. You can win a Kyle Pitts signed football or a Travis Kelce signed football. All raffle tickets are $5. All proceeds go to the Women's Sports Foundation. Just go to our website, clubfantasyffl.com, click on the Women of Fantasy link, and all the details are there. But check the shows out. We have Stefania Bell coming on. She's the name that sticks out. We have Kate and Michelle Majuk this week, first week of the show, opening the show up. I believe they opened the show. The Women of Fantasy shows up for us last year, too. It's going to be great. They know what they're talking about. It's going to be our 4 best shows of the year, mainly because Joe, Josh, and myself aren't involved. So we've let the smart people take over. It's going to be fantastic, but more importantly, it all goes towards a good cause. So check it out.
Honestly, I think that it's really cool that you guys are raffling off autographs of the Dynasty Tight End 1 and Travis Kelce.
We said we wanted Kyle Pitts ball to say Hall of Famer on it already. So.
All right, John, throw it to you.
Yeah. On Twitter at John Helmkamp, staff writer over at sportscasting.com. Really cool development. Sportscasting has actually decided to make a foray into fantasy football writing. So they are allowing me to write about fantasy football content over there, and a couple other writers are doing the same thing. So it's going to be really cool. So feel free to pop on over there. We've got probably about 3 different writers that are going to be pumping out fantasy content. There's probably going to be a fantasy article on the website just about every day, if not a couple per day.
Awesome.
So yeah, feel free to hop over there and check us out. It's a really solid website, good writing. And on Twitter, DMs are open if you've got trade questions and all that fun stuff, or want me to rant more about Jonathan Taylor. Happy to do so.
And check out John's Amon-Ra St. Brown article. I think just dropped today. At least
Yeah.
I just read it today. It's fantastic and worth
Thank you.
your time. So
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, and Nate.
Nate Hamilton at Twitter at DominateFF. You can catch my work over at thegameday.com. Go out and get yourself the fantasy football draft book from Football Diehards. And of course, go on Amazon, #1 best-selling fantasy every season,
Yep.
the Fantasy Football Black Book. Unbelievable cast of writers that we have every year in here. So go out, get those things. The price of this is just ridiculously. If you don't pay for anything else and you just get this, it's a money saver, and it helps you with all of your drafts the entire season. Everything's good. Let's high five over here, and
Oh,
there we go.
There you go. That works.
Yeah, that's it, man.
So I am not associated with the Fantasy Black Book. I'm not a writer that was a part of that project. They do incredible work in that book. It is put on by Joe
Pisapia.
Yeah. phenomenal dude. All the writers that they've got in there, the content is absolutely wonderful. I am not a sponsor in any way. Just giving you guys a shout out. It is incredible work. Everyone out there should absolutely look that up.
I think Nate, I might be speaking out of turn here, was one of the first writers Joe brought in to start helping 3 or 4 years ago. So I wasn't even aware of the book. I wasn't even aware of the book, but being good friends with Nate as writers with the Ballers, I started getting it because of that to support my friend. And it's fantastic football information.
It's great stuff. And they always top the charts on Amazon's bestseller in fantasy football content and baseball too, by the way. They do a baseball that just kills it every year.
You guys are like the sweetest trio
I want to give a
I've
hug to you guys. I want to hug you
had
guys.
on here. Normally everybody's just like, here's my fucking time, stay out of my window. You guys are like, look at all the things these guys are doing. That's amazing. Oh,
It is.
That's awesome.
And Jake, why don't you tell people where they can find you?
I'm on Twitter, Jake Trowbridge, because it's my name. Just go look me up. If you're not looking at me here, go look at me there.
All right. And you can
Nope,
find
I'm stepping in for Jake too. Football Guys just put out an awesome article where we interviewed 17 people in the industry to ask who they were planting a flag for this year. Undervalued guys, overvalued guys. Jake was one of the esteemed writers who filled in with us. You can go to my timeline and find it, and I believe it's on FBG News as well. So
And
thank
Jake
you for
does amazing videos, by the way.
Dude,
with
this is
great.
impersonations are top notch. They
So
make me,
good.
I cry laughing. I've got to rewind it like 30 times just so I can catch everything. Dude, you're amazing. It's incredible. It's highly underrated, to be honest with you, and you should get more recognition for those things because it's low budget in a way, but it's like you hit it all, and your impersonations are just unmatched. So congrats on you. Keep doing those. Don't stop the videos, dude.
Done. God damn it, you guys are so nice. I love it.
Yes, and please go follow our Twitter page for the show at Drinking Fantasy. And if you want, go find me at FF Dusty Dog. And until next week, folks, keep drinking and talking fantasy football.
Cheers at Peppers.